Hi everyone, it's Mary with Happy Pine Soap and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to do a mini drop swirl, and that will include using disposable pipettes and cutting them and putting them on the top of squeeze bottles. Essentially, you make little cuts into the pipette just like I'm showing. You affix it to a squeeze bottle, and then electrical tape is used to affix the pipette to your squeeze bottle. And essentially, we are going to be using these squeeze bottles for our different colored soap batters to form what look like little raindrops. And so I'm going to be making a cloud and rain inspired design here. And I hope you enjoy my tutorial. Once you are done taping your pipette onto your bottle, go ahead and snip maybe just about the first half inch off of the top of the pipette. And this will give you a little bit extra width in the pipette to make bigger raindrops as opposed to really small ones. And then what I also like to do here is use a disposable bag. So these can be found in a lot of your Amazon purchases, for example. They're just simple little shipping bags that I'm reusing from my prior purchases. And I cut the tops off, and essentially I'm using a blunt tool. This is the cleanup tool from Brambleberry, but it has a nice blunt side that I'm using to gently poke the bag inside the bottle without putting holes in it. And you just kind of get that bag down in there, and then once you're satisfied, you can see how the bag then essentially gets screwed underneath the cap, so it's nice and tight. The colors we're going to be using today are Luna from Mad Micas. This is going to be the main portion of our batter. We also have Spacewalk, which is one of my absolute favorites. I love the silver specks in this navy blue. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. We also have Bermuda Triangle, a beautiful kind of teal blue color. And we also are using Grape Ape, which is a fluorescent color. And our last purple is going to be Pow Pow Purple. I love Mad Micas. They are my #1 favorite for mica suppliers. What I'm going to be doing here now is adding the Luna to, essentially this is going to be for the main portion of the batter. So I'm using a higher amount of it. We're actually using 2 teaspoons of this mica and combining it with 2 tablespoons of lightweight oil. My batter will be 5 pounds total, and about 60% of it is going to have this Luna color to it. So here is my lightweight oil. It's actually olive oil that is left over from a prior batch that I made earlier. It had dandelion infusion inside of it. And as you see, I use my mini mixer here, and I gently stir the mica and oil together so that they form a nice color blend that's easy to put into your batter. For the smaller ones, I'm going to be doing 1/2 teaspoon of mica per 1/2 tablespoon. This is sweet almond oil. It's a great lightweight oil for your micas. And I also use the mini blender to blend these micas as well. And you can see how the finished color looks really smooth and glossy, and it's very easy to blend. All right, now we have our fragrance. It's been pre-mixed with kaolin clay the night before. I used 3 tablespoons of kaolin clay, and I blended it with my fragrances with the mini blender as well. Kaolin clay is supposed to help the fragrances stick better, and it gives the soap a very nice slip or feel to it. We're going to use 1 ounce of Volcano from Crafter's Choice, as well as 2 ounces of Galactic Skies from Midwest Fragrance. Both are supposed to play very nice in cold process soap and not accelerate your batter. Here are my hard oils that I have weighed out and am ready to melt. This recipe I have adjusted to make it even higher on the palmitic and stearic acids. I am attempting to get a bar that will last a very long time in the shower, and those palmitic and stearic acid numbers need to be above 30 for the bar to be harder and longer lasting. And butters that are helpful for this are things like cocoa butter and shea butter, as well as tallow and lard. So I also have coconut oil in there as well. So here are my hard oils that have been melted, and as you see, they're about 140 degrees. When you have high numbers of palmitic and stearic acids, the actual oils have to be melted at a higher temp to get rid of any potential for stearic spots. And then as you see, I'm adding my liquid oils. Those are the ones that are liquid at room temperature. I've added castor oil here and high oleic sunflower oil and avocado oil to this batch, and you can see how the temperature quickly goes down to about 118. And now I am checking to see my lye and oils to see if they're about 10-degree difference, and they are pretty close to that. I like to strain my lye solution just in case there's any undissolved bits in the bottom. And then always remember to start with burping your stick blender before you start blending the lye solution and the oils together. You want to try to avoid adding extra air into the batter. In here we're adding our fragrance as well that's been pre-mixed to the entire batch. Again, these fragrances are supposed to not accelerate the batch, so I feel it's pretty safe to add them at this point as opposed to later. And now we're measuring off for our separate colors 7 ounces. And then here we are adding the Luna to the main part of the batch. Look how pretty that color is as I stir it in. It's amazing how it actually kind of transforms and morphs into this light gray color instead of that shimmery, almost purple hue. It's interesting how colors morph when they're added to the soap batter. I always find that fascinating. I've also added my pre-mixed micas, the other 4 colors that were pre-mixed, to my 7-ounce batches, which are now going into the squeeze bottles, as you can see here. I try to carefully scrape all of the batter into the squeeze bottle before capping it with the top. And as you'll see, we'll begin to get everything set up here. We're going to start by adding the Luna, the main color of the batch, carefully laying that in the bottom. I've poured over a spatula to try to avoid adding extra air. And don't forget to tap it a few times on the counter to release any air bubbles. What you see me doing here is gently squeezing the colored batter down the tip of the pipette, and that, of course, that is to try to avoid adding air into your droplets as you start introducing them into the main part of the batch. I went ahead and wiped this off on a paper towel. And then you'll be using a moderate amount of force, actually, a very even squeeze, as you carefully put the bottle towards the bottom of your batter, and you just squeeze in a slow swipe across the batter left and right, and you'll keep that pressure on the bottle very uniform throughout this process. You want to start low, and then as you start to add more colors, you add them a little bit higher up. You're trying not to disturb the lower droplets that you're putting in here. It is a bit difficult because you really don't know where your prior drops are. So some of this is, again, a trust process, and in hopes that you're not disturbing the lower layers and that it will look good later. What you see me doing here is actually cutting off about 1 inch or so off the tip of the pipette. And I'm doing this because I'm now adding just the last bit of the color from the bottles right at the top of my batter. So I really don't need it to come out slowly anymore. I want it to come out faster. We're going to be laying in basically the rest of the color at the top, which is going to be the main part of the rain cloud, essentially. So it doesn't need to be small individual droplets anymore. It can look more cloud-like with more color at the top. You see, I had to repeatedly shake the batter down the bottle. This was a bit tricky. There was some air that would get trapped as well, but not to worry. It didn't seem to affect the overall look. The top layers, as I said, are more cloud-like, and so they don't have to be quite as precise as the lower layers in the batter. Now we're finishing off the blue color as well, and adding that into the purple color. And as you'll see here shortly, I show the process that I use to clean out the nozzles, as well as the inner bag in the squeeze bottle. I actually took the inner bags out and carefully squeezed all of the batter that was remaining in them into the soap mold. I don't like to waste soap, so I wanted to try to get every last bit of it into the mold so that nothing was wasted. You can see that the inner bag did indeed keep the squeeze bottle clean. I didn't have any batter leak into the squeeze bottle at all from any of the inner bags that I used, so I was quite pleased with that. And then to clean the inner part of the nozzle, I essentially used a straw brush that I already had on hand and gently put the straw brush up inside the nozzle tip, and that cleaned it out just perfectly. So at least cleanup wasn't too bad either. Go ahead and give your mold a few taps on the counter again. You want to release any trapped air. And I went ahead and smoothed the top of the soap as well. I'm getting it ready for my mica swirls that I will show here. This is copper mica that's been pre-mixed in 1 tablespoon lightweight oil. And I'm just gently putting some copper mica at the top and getting it ready for my cleanup tool from Brambleberry. I like the cleanup tool. It has a nice sharp pointy end, but it's not too deep either. And you want to just gently start poking any little air bubbles that you might see on the surface of your soap. This tool is great for that. And then you will start swirling any particular way you would like to, actually. There's various ways of doing this, but you don't want to stick the tip of your tool in too far into the batter and disturb the lower layers. It's just really only the tip of the cleanup tool is being used here. And I finish the swirl by just some simple figure eights across the top of the batter. I will be oven processing this soap, so essentially you turn your oven on to the lowest setting, 170 degrees. You turn it off, you put your soap in, and then leave the oven light on, and you leave it in for about 3 hours, and then you can take it out and let it cool down. This soap is a very hard recipe, and it actually is ready to cut in about 7 to 8 hours actually. This is what it looks like when it's been taken from the mold. We're ready for the cut, which is always my favorite part. I had no idea what this would look like on the inside, so I was pretty excited to see what it would look like. I was quite pleased. I definitely like the drops that I'm seeing. It does remind me of rain coming from a rain cloud. Some of the drops looked a little bit better in some of the cuts than others, but you know, it's a handmade product, right? It's not like we can have them be completely perfect in every bar, but overall I'm actually quite satisfied. I think it does look like rain. I love the different colors and the contrast of the purple and blues together against the gray. And for my first time doing a mini drop swirl, I think it turned out pretty good. And here is the remaining part of the loaf that I'm cutting now. And I'm also very pleased with these ones as well. And then one of my favorite things to do is to gently use a vegetable peeler to clean up the sides of my soap. I like the way they feel in the hand when they've been beveled like this. And this recipe again is hard enough that I can actually bevel them with this vegetable peeler right after I cut them, so in about 7 to 8 hours. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I really hope this tutorial was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them below. I would love to hear your experiences with this design if you've already tried this one as well. And as always, I appreciate all of your support. Your likes and subscribing and comments help grow my channel, and I so appreciate every single one of you. And I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next soapy video. Take care, everyone.